Hello everybody. Hello everybody, welcome back to Ramblers of the South Stand. I'm just gonna, Conor, if you will, I'm just gonna let a few of you log in here. Make sure you're joined. Then we will get going. See who's joined in the chat. Excellent stuff. Just take the mic out. There we go, should be a little bit better. I think, let's just check this out. Beautiful, beautiful. Right guys, sorry about the shirt here. Just have to bend over, putting on a little bit of weight. How are we doing anyway? Hope we are doing fantastically well. I'm going to wait for a little bit more of you to join. So who have we got in? We've got Renos, hello mate. 7X Gaming, hello. All of you guys just joining right now. Then I'm going to get into the preview. So, what have we got here? How's everyone anyway? All right? Is everything okay? Hope you're doing fantastically well. I want to get into this Boro game anyway. And we're going to really get into depth on the sort of tactical nous of Boro, how they've set up, how they've been the last, well, 4 or 5 games really. And we're just going to get into that because I really want to explore that. And we're going to, because I think this is going to be a real tactical game, this. And it's going to be a really interesting one for me. A real interesting game. And Leeds have really got to be on top of it, haven't they? They've really got to be on top of it. I'm just making sure you're all in and involved. Hey, Conor, work just got more entertaining with all Leeds TV. We've got 28 of you watching now. I think Claudio's going to be posting it soon. Claudio, if you wouldn't mind doing that, mate, just post it on everything if you can. I want to get you all watching because I've just got in from work as well, so I've got my brew. I've got everything on point. By the way, if you're all wondering what that is, I'll show you it a little bit later on. This is a green screen. It's got a blue screen and a green screen as well. So I ordered that the other day. So we're getting some pretty good content on that. The reason I was a little bit late with the upload was really because I was trying to get this on that. So unfortunately that didn't happen. So we'll get on that in the next couple of days. So that's some really good content for you there. So let's get into it. So Leeds United heading to the Riverside versus Middlesbrough. What a game this is going to be. What a game this is turning out to be. Am I nervous? Yeah, but you guys know me. I'm always nervous about everything really. When it comes to Leeds, it's going to be a real tough game, and I think people are discounting Boro as they discounted Norwich because I don't know. Maybe Leeds have this sort of like superiority complex at the minute, and I think it's one of those where at the minute our form isn't great. 4 out of 6 wins, and we've always been excellent at bouncing back. We've shown that this season. Leeds United have been very good at bouncing back. So at the end of the day, if we can do that, if we can keep and maintain the levels that Leeds know they can reach, then we're going to be absolutely fine. We go into this game with, I wouldn't say a lot of confidence. Would I say the pressure's on? I'm not 100% sure. I've seen a lot of Boro fans that's saying that the pressure is on Leeds because we could be 3rd by Friday night, and I'm not 100% sure the pressure is on Leeds because we know where we are. At the start of the season, playoffs would have been elated with the playoffs. Top 2 is incredible. If we can get that, then that'd be amazing as well. But I don't feel any pressure. I think we're going up there with a little bit of free flow. I thought against Norwich there was a lot of pressure, and I think it's because everyone thought we were going to turn Norwich over. Listening to a lot of people, it was going to be 2, it was going to be 3. And believe it or not, that's the first result of the season I got correct. I said it was going to be 3-1 Norwich, which a lot of people were frowning at me, saying why this, why that. And I think I was just a little bit more cautious of Norwich. I knew how good they were. I knew Stiepermann in that CAM role was going to cause us a lot of problems, especially with Forshaw there, because I don't think he's that great at screening the back 4. And just to highlight over that game a little bit more, I thought Leeds were decent in the first half. Did I think we were clinical? No. Did I think we were creating chances? No. Did I think we were effective? No. But that'll bring me on to the points later on in the video. And we're going through a patch at the minute. Every club experiences it, but Leeds are really going through a patch at the minute. And what a better way to solve that patch than would be to go to Boro and get a win. They hate us. They really hate us. I do not care about Boro. I've got no hatred towards Boro. I don't know about you guys, but this rivalry which just suddenly sparked up, I don't know. Maybe it's from social media. We know who sort of sparked that, but yeah, I'm not that bothered about Boro. They're a good team. I don't have any. I have more of a dislike for Sheffield Wednesday. I don't like Wednesday. I'd say they're more of a rivalry, and I enjoy that rivalry more. Boro, I'm genuinely not bothered about. So I'm going into that, and I'm not thinking to myself, "This is a derby. Leeds have got to get up for it." I don't think like that. I don't think like that. All this Boro Wednesday, maybe Sheffield United to an extent. I'd potentially think, yeah, okay, we have to get up for this. But teams like Hull, teams like Boro, I don't. Boro that even classes Yorkshire, so it can't be a derby for me. They see it as I don't know where this thing comes from with Boro, but Boro don't like us at all. I've got a lot of mates who are Boro fans and they cannot stand Leeds. So, whatever. If you don't like us, you're not us, are you? Everyone hates us who aren't us, so whatever. But yeah, there's always a little bit more going into the game with Boro. We've always had this. We've always had it, and it's one of those where I guess it stakes it up a bit. They always get their biggest crowd of the season against Leeds. I don't think they've been able to sell out, so they're probably looking at 27 to 28,000, which isn't exactly I don't know. Maybe that is good, but apparently they haven't been able to sell out. I think Leeds got a little bit more on the allocation as well because of that. So the technicalities of it are, they played Newport midweek, lost 2-0. A lot of people were saying, Boro have gone there and they've had a fair few players, that are playing. It's a strong team, and it was a strong team. You had the likes of, Jordan Hugill, Assombalonga, all starting. They had some decent players in the midfield. Obviously, Clayton was starting. Besic came on for a period in the game as well. So this is, it wasn't a poor team that played Newport Hall. The conditions were horrendous. It's a 10-hour round trip. So do I count that as part of the sort of process of Leeds getting into them and being better than them? I don't really. I think the only thing that we can take out of that is the fact that Boro's this is clutching at straws, but it's always an advantage. It's these little advantages that get you promoted, isn't it? These marginal advantages, but it's the fact that, they're playing. It was a complicated process with getting their plane off the ground. I don't know if it had to come down and land somewhere, but it wasn't. Basically, the plane wasn't setting off from Newport, so they had complications with that. They got back very late. Played midweek, so obviously the Saturday turnaround. Leeds are going to have a much more rest than Boro. And, it really took it out of them. It was a wet, horrible, muddy pitch. And, you could tell the Boro players were really leggy in that game. You saw it with the injuries as well. Hugill limping off through the game. Assombalonga also brought off injured. So, all these little factors can work into Leeds United's favour. And, we're looking at the presser as well. The Boro haven't had the presser yet. They haven't announced their injuries. But so far, they got the likes of Lewis Wing, who is a winger, ironically. He could be a doubt as well. Howson, apparently, could be a potential doubt. And then you've got Hugill and Assombalonga, who've been starting up front in that 3-5-2 that Boro have started to deploy towards the back end of the last 6 games. And I've had reasonable success with Hugill and Assombalonga doubts for this game. So we'll have to wait and see on that. Obviously, this is recorded, it's live. You're talking to me on a Thursday night, so we'll have to see what comes out potentially tomorrow. I'm not sure when Boro have their press conference, or if they have had the press conference, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think that's been thoroughly announced yet. But the Gazette at Boro have said that those 4 all could be potential doubts. So the first game with Boro, Leeds United went into it with a full strength squad. Douglas was available. Saiz was within the squad at that minute. A person who I do think we're missing. Full strength squad, and the only thing I worry about with Boro, because we'll get onto the scoring record in a bit, is the fact that what they do with teams and what they have done with teams this season, even when they've been scraping through victories, they impose their game on other teams. So, for instance, Leeds were free-flowing. Leeds were excellent up to that Boro game. I think it was the 6th game in, dominating teams, taking apart Stoke, Norwich and Derby in particular, beating Bolton as well, pretty comprehensively at home, albeit a 2-1 win. It was a 2-1 battering. Paddy BAMFORD getting off the score sheet. And we went into the Boro game really full of confidence, sell out Ellen Road, and it was one of those, really. It was a game where Leeds really had to sort of dig it out, and Boro really imposed the game on us. Boro really showed what they were about, and they Leeds down to their level. You know, it was a really nitty-gritty game. Daniel Ayala doing his normal tricks. Dale Fry having a really good game for Boro in the back nine there, or whatever they had. But Leeds really struggled to break them down. And I think you're naive to think that it's not going to be something similar in this next game. I think Leeds are going to have a lot more joy. I think the pressure is on Boro, actually, because they're at home, they're expectant, they've got a very expectant crowd over there, and they will not take anything less than beating the Leeds United side, especially a Leeds United side who are, you know, in the top two. But what I do think is the pressure is going to be on them a little bit more. So how are they going to set up? Are they going to be a little bit more shaky? Are they going to be as resolute as they were in that first game? But that first game, I was pretty disappointed. It was a point, but Leeds didn't play their own game. And that's what Boro are able to do, because they've got these brick shithouses at the back. They've got this Tony Pulis style football, which he's had following him throughout his career, West Brom, Stoke, where he sticks massive men at the back and massive men throughout the team. And they really imposed themselves on Leeds last time. So what do? We need to start a little bit differently. We need to have a little bit more of a creative ethos, which in the past 2 months it's been lacking, hasn't it, guys? I'm not just gonna talk around and sugarcoat it. You know, it's been a really poor for me 2 months. Aside from that Derby game, which was excellent, you know, 2 months, maybe you put that Villa game in there as well. Leeds have been pretty poor, so we need something to turn around. But you know, we've always been able to bounce back. You know, we bounced back and won those 7 games on the bounce after something like we experienced at the weekend. So can we do the same thing again? I think we can, definitely. But the first game versus Boro, is that going to be an indication of what we're going to expect? You know, Boro have conceded 9 goals at home all season, which is pretty impressive. It's very impressive, actually, to be fair. I'm not that interested in Boro. I know a lot of people don't like Boro, but conceding 9 goals at home is pretty impressive. That's 4 from open play as well. So 4 goals from open play. Leeds don't score many goals from set pieces. So they're very good because they play down the middle. You know, they're a very sort of route one team. A lot of Boro fans don't like Pulis ball, but you know, they're in the top 6, so it's working evidently for them. I know they want to be close to the top 2, and a win against Leeds United. Touch wood, that doesn't happen, but that'll close the gap to 4 points with the game in hand for Boro. So the last game, 5-goal thriller versus West Bromwich Albion. 2-0 down, showed character to come back and beat them 3-2 at the Hawthorns, and we know how difficult that place is to go. What did they do a little bit differently? Well, usually they start 4-5-1, but what they managed to do was switch it up to a 3-5-2. They kept the original 3, Fry, Ayala, and what was the other one at the back? Can't remember. I'll come back to him. And they implemented Hugel and Assombalonga up front, which was really interesting. They kept that 5 along the midfield. They always seem to have a bank of 5 across the middle or a bank of 5 across the back, and it fluctuates when they're attacking and when they're defending. So what happens is they transition into an attacking team, and they push the fullbacks up from a 3 to a 5 in the middle, and vice versa when they're on the defensive. So that's how Boro work. They transition, but what they do really well is set pieces, you know, and we know this. And they're good at the back, they're good in the air, and it sort of moves me nicely on to the key men, really, who are going to be in this battle for me. I think the key man, as much as we don't like him, is going to be Daniel Ayala. 22 appearances this season and 10 clean sheets when he's been involved. Excellent in the first game, I thought. He really got under our skin. I cannot stand the man. I think he's a cheat. But he thoroughly got under the skin of the Leeds players. And Leeds, this is back to my original point of Leeds were playing into his hands. There was a lot of long balls. There was a lot of interceptions from Ayala, stepping up from the back. And he does the basics really well. Heading the ball out, kicking the ball out, getting it out for a throw in when you need to, not overplaying it, not taking it out from your box and dribbling around with it. He's a classic defender. Ben Gibson was very similar, who signed for Burnley, but he's a classic defender. Not that nods it out. Nothing expert about him. He's just a rock solid defender. So I thought he was excellent in the first game. I don't like the guy, but I thought he was very, very good. Did his job very, very well. Marshalled that Boro defence. So we know exactly how they're going to set up. You know, Dale Fry and Ayala are going to be the pivots. They're going to get a lot of the balls. But, you know, this is where Leeds have got to be smart. We cannot be playing the ball in the air. We can't be doing it, you know, because we saw in the first game, that's what Boro likes, what they train on. It's what they train on week in, week out in defence throughout training. And you can tell because they've got an excellent defensive record. So kudos to them for that. That's how they're in the top 5. But we've got to learn from our previous games, and there's been a real blueprint at the minute for Leeds. I felt Birmingham set it really well earlier on in the season at Ellen Road with a 2-1 victory, and since then we've done well. We had that excellent 7-game match winning run, which was nearly a record, which was superb. But I don't think it matches how good we were at the start of the season. And what teams tend to do with Leeds United now, as we know, they camp, they sit, and they counter. Now, Middlesbrough do that with pretty much every single team. They're not an attacking side. They're not free-flowing. They've not got tick-attack football like we have. They're very route one with the big men, as I've just said. They're very physical, aggressive, dominant aerially. So we've got to be smart. And we've got to be, I don't think there's going to be much success coming from set pieces for Leeds United. So we've got to be creative. We've got to be creative in the final third. We've got to move the ball from our half to their half quickly. And one man I will concentrate on for that is Luke Ayling. For me, he does start because I think he's ideal to deal with Boro's threat in the air. We need someone above 6 foot to be in the box to help us out. I think Jamie Shackleton come into the fore. I think it's going to be very difficult for Jamie to deal with corners, and it gives Leeds a little bit more to help us at the back on corners and set pieces, which they thrive from Boro, but they've only scored. I think with Ayling, I was going to move on to how many Boro have scored, and I will do that. But with Ayling, he's struggling with the Bielsa system at the minute, and I think he's taking too many touches. I think he doesn't seem confident in his ability to move. I've thought it all season. I've said it to my close friends. I don't think he thrives in the Bielsa system like in comparison to someone like Click or Pablo. They're completely different positions, but how they've adapted to the Bielsa system, the 3-3-1-3, the 4-1-4-1 is completely different. And I think Ayling has struggled to cope with that. I think when you've seen Shackleton come into the fore and you've seen Shackleton play that one touch, bombing up and down the line, defensively astute, whereas I think Ayling, he can take 1 or 2 touches, he takes 4 or 5. And the reason behind that, I think it boils down to confidence. I don't think he's that assured on the ball. I've never thought that of Ayling, really. I think a little bit of a steady Eddie, but on the ball, I don't think he's ever been excellent. So I think that side of his game drastically needs to improve, because when it gets to Ayling, let's be right, we're looking forward all the time. We're looking to the wings, we're looking to the centre midfield, and if Luke Ayling is taking 4 or 5 touches, we're going to be closed down. We've had teams now implement the high press on Leeds. We saw Norwich do it very, very effectively at the weekend. They've got quality in abundance, but we've seen teams do that. Even Birmingham, with the sort of mediocre quality they've got, we're able to do that to Leeds. So the way around that is to move the ball quicker, and it's easier said than done, but that's what Leeds United do in training week in, week out. So we've got to match what's going on the training field, and we've got to put that into a gameplay scenario, which we were doing very, very well in that 8-game spell and at the start of the season. But at the minute, it's not consistent enough. That 7-game spell, and at the start of the season, in between that, there's been too many dips for me. And we're in a dip at the minute for me, but getting back to the positive vein of results, I think is key for Leeds United to maintain that top 2 position. So 14 goals at home for Middlesbrough. And as I've said, only half from open play. So I don't need to reiterate this, do I? It's a Pulis team. So they've scored 14 goals at home. They've let in 9. So there's not many goals when teams play Boro at home. It doesn't happen that often. So that, score draws, you sort of 1-1s, you 2-1s. I know recently a lot of the results have been like that, aside from the West Brom game. So it's what you're sort of expecting against Boro. I don't think, we're going to go up there. I'd be very surprised if we go up there, and I'd be elated. I hope I'm wrong. But if we went up there and stuck 3 past them, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think we're really lacking the creative department at the minute as well, with the team news at the minute. Cleek, I'll get onto it in a bit, but Cleek potentially could be out, and Pablo could potentially be out. So I think it's going to be a real tough game. And I think you listened to that with Patrick Bamford today. He said it's going to be a moment of magic, is what he was quoted on saying, with us potentially beating Boro. So he evidently knows Leeds are in for a real game, and he evidently knows that it could be something really excellent that splits the 2 teams. 14 home goals, only half from open play, as I've just said. So that would mean that half of their goals have been from set pieces. I know 3 of them have been penalties as well. So from open play, Boro won't score goals. They're not that sort of team. As I've already alluded to, it's a Pulis team, so that's what you're expecting. Leeds have got to go into this game with that knowledge, and we've got to, I think, adapt it a lot better than we did in that first game. Talking about the creative outlet, our last 107 shots, we've had 31 on target. And I know when Bielsa came out in his post-match conference of the Norwich game, it was sort of the first time he alluded to the fact of him being disappointed with the fact that Leeds aren't able to implement what they do in training in match game situations at the minute. You know, we're really struggling. We're really struggling to have a creative outlet. You saw that against Norwich. This is a Norwich side who frequently concede goals. They concede goals every single game. And, you know, if it wasn't for Patrick Bamford, we wouldn't have even had a sniff in that second half. Leeds were just completely shot out. So that was concerning. And I think it's concerning for Bielsa. And, you know, if you don't believe that, that's absolutely fine. But, you know, when the head coach is coming out and saying it, when the head coach is quoting statistics in his conferences, that's normally an indication that he could be potentially a little bit worried about what's going on in the final third at Leeds United. I mean, if you look at Middlesbrough, for example, Boro's last 68 shots, they've had 26 have been on target. So, you know, you look at that as a little bit of a comparison. Middlesbrough, they don't score a lot, but when they're shooting, it's actually hitting that 12 yards, which is key. So yeah, talking about Boro's last 5 games, they've not lost in 5. So they're beating Ipswich 2-0, Derby 1-1 away, decent result, beating Birmingham away, which was sort of a little bit of a turning point for their away form. Drew with Millwall at home, which you know, just that kind of highlights how sort of difficult they find it as well to score at home. I think they have a real problem with scoring at home and being decent at home. I think Boro are a pretty poor side at home. I think the crowd gets on them a little bit like when, you know, we've been excellent this season, but maybe in previous seasons when Leeds have played sides at home and we've been getting on the players because they've not been performing, putting in the effort, doing the right football. I think Boro have been a lot of the same this season, even though they sit in 5th. Their away form has been pivotal to that. They've been pretty shocking at home. I think it was 1 win at home since I think it was the end of November, which is pretty poor. So Leeds United, 4 losses out of 6 wins, and as I've said, guys, it's a rut. We're in a rut at the minute, and we need to bounce back. This is key for Leeds to maintain those top 2 positions. I'll be real with you guys. I'll be completely real. I'm not going to bullshit you. I never bullshit you on this channel. Neither does Joe, neither does Oscar. It's their genuine opinions. I've said it in the group chat as well this week. I think if we don't win this game, I think eyebrows are going to be raised a little bit. I think Leeds have got to go up there, and I don't think a point's enough. I think Boro would take a point. I think they'd take a 0-0, a 1-1. I think that's more realistic, but I think Leeds need to go up there and win. But obviously in Phil Hayes' presser today, he did illustrate that there could be a potential for Cleek, Pablo and Forshaw to all be out, which is just... Well, it's us all over this season, isn't it? I mean, Rob Price coming out and saying it's the most injuries he's ever faced in a single season with 45. Obviously, if this was the case and those 3 didn't feature, that would be 48, which is it's a massive amount of injuries. You know, to say we're only halfway through the season, really, just over half. So, but the positives, you know, we've got a lot of positives to look at. Boro aren't great at home, and potentially Lewis Wing, who's been excellent for them so far, their youth product. Jordan Hugill, who's obviously started in that top 2 now with Britt Sombolonga. Those 3 actually are all pending injury. So that could be key for Leeds United. So how would I start the game? I mean, it was illustrated in Phil Hayes' press conference that, you know, the real starters I'm going to sort of implement in this, but it was interesting that Bamford was there as well, and it sort of indicated to me that potentially Leeds could be looking at a 4-2-3-1, which is a switch up in a formation, a switch up in philosophy and ideology, and something that Leeds United could really work on, which will be excellent. I'm happy that there is a change in formation. I don't think the 4-1-4-1 was working. I think you've seen Roof isolated way too many times because Cleek looks knackered. Forshaw doesn't get forward enough, and obviously KP's pivotal in that defensive role, screening the back 4. So what are we going to line up with? Well, I think from his conference, I think we're going to go with Kiko in net. I think we're going to go Luke Ayling right back. I think we're going to go Jansen the right side of the centre halves. I think we're going to go Cooper left side, and it seems like we're going to go for Alioski left back. Now, what do I think about that back line? I'm happy with the back line. Ayling for me is a tick. Cooper's a tick. Jansen's a tick. Obviously, Casillas a tick. Alioski is one that I'm going to talk a little bit more tactically about this change. Now, I would have liked to have seen Douglas there. Now, that's not because Alioski's been poor at all. I think Alioski's been excellent, and I think Douglas struggles to get back in this side when Alioski's playing a different team. At the minute, I think Alioski's quite petulant, and I think we all notice that. I think we're all a bit naive and a bit in denial if we don't admit that. I think Alioski's been quality, but I do think sometimes he gives away silly fouls on the edge of the box. I know Gaz was talking to me about that from the Talking Shit podcast, and I think Alioski gives away too many fouls. Now, half of Boro's goals, 50% of Boro's goals have been scored from set pieces at home. 7 of the 14 have been scored from set pieces. They target set pieces, they love set pieces. Pretty much every single one of their back 6, which is including the 4 and the 2, are over 6'2". So that's what you're looking for. You know, you've got Ryan Shotton, you've got it's not even a back 6, it's a back 7. But you know, you've got Ryan Shotton, you've got Ayala, you've got Dale Fry, you've got the other centre half who I can't think, and then you've got George Friend on the left, and then in front you've got John Obi Mikel. So you know, and then potentially Besic, who's probably the smaller of the 7. So if Alioski plays, I do think there's a potential for little silly fouls to be given away. The silly fouls are given away on the edge of the box, and Boro exploit that. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them target Alioski throughout this game, especially if I know Douglas isn't playing. I think Douglas has been poor. Not poor, I think poor's harsh, but he's not been up to the standard that we're used to seeing a Douglas play at. And I think if Douglas plays, you get a more professional performance. I think he's played in these huge games before, i.e. last season, where he was going for promotion with Wolves when they played the likes of Villa, Boro as well. In particular, he's got a very decent level of discipline. His disciplinary record's very good. So I think he holds up their right side very well. You know, for example, if Tavernier plays, that young Boro lad, very quick on the wing. So I'm just a little bit worried if Alioski is just being, sometimes he can be a bit petulant. I think Boro will target him. So he's definitely one to look out for. So I'd have Ayling, Cooper, Jansen. I would have Douglas, but from the press conference today, it sounds like Bielsa's going to be starting Alioski. For me, it's no slight on his ability because I think he's been better than Douglas so far. But for this game, tactically, I would go for Douglas. The 2 that are screening, the back 4, it doesn't look like Forshaw's going to be playing. Bielsa sort of made that clear in his press conference today. So obviously you're going to have KP and then Shackleton in that 2. And then this is where it gets quite interesting. You've got the 3 that are going to be in front of that 2. Now, the 10 is going to be quite an interesting element of debate, and I think we saw the reason the 10 is going to be potentially this player today is because he was in the press conference. That's Patrick Bamford. So we're also looking at Pablo being out, which is monumental for me. I think that is a massive loss. So he didn't say that Pablo was out. You know, these players can feature, these players could feature, but Bielsa has already said, and we've seen it before, that Bielsa will not risk players for the longer term if they're going to be if they're going to be if they've got niggles for this game. So I'd be surprised if we saw Pablo. I don't think Bielsa would come out and state that about Pablo, Cleek and Forshaw if he wasn't planning on potentially resting at least 2 of them. I don't think he'd come out and say it. So I'd go with Clark on the right side, although I do think he's better starting on the bench. I think he could get an element of success against George Friend. George Friend's a bit of an experienced vet in this league, but I think he does give wingers a little bit of time on the ball, so I think Clark could exploit that. So Clark's got to be on his A game, and then it looks like you're either going to see the Bamford in the 10 or potentially Roberts in the 10, but I'd go with Bamford. On the left-hand side, Jack Harrison. Need something from old Jack, don't we? I think we're looking at about 3 games so far this season. He's been impressive. Preston and Forest probably included with that. The weekend once again. Aaron's did an excellent job on him. Best fullback in the league, in my opinion. Jamal Lewis and Aaron's for Norwich. But Harrison, once again, didn't even feature for me, really. So one of those where it's going to be a difficult one, really. But yeah, Harrison, poor for me throughout. He needs to improve his levels. And people say he did well. Why did he do well? Has he created anything? No, I saw a stat today saying that his creation rate is at 16% for the games that he plays, which is just, it's not good enough when you look at an average of chance creation rate for a winger in this league at 33%. 16% is not enough. For the games he started as well, I'd expect a lot more from Jack Harrison. So people saying that he played well, talk to me about his assists, talk to me about his goals, and talk to me about his chance conversion rate. I would also include that he doesn't ask for the ball, doesn't seem that interested. He looks a little bit scared and timid, but hopefully in this game, I keep saying it every week, but you know, this is where the Dan James situation would have sorted this, but that's irrelevant. That's not going to change things now. Harrison has to step up. And then I'd go with Roof up front. So then you've got Bamford and Roof. I'd like to see Bamford up front, but I don't think you can take Roof out. And I think Bamford gives us a little bit more in there. Alternatively, you know, if Roof isn't playing, then you've got Tyler Roberts in the 10 and Bamford in the 9, but I don't think that will happen. Once again, you've got Izzy Brown. There's a potential for him to play, but I don't think he'll be playing. I don't think we're going to see Izzy Brown for quite a while. It was alluded to on the Inside Ellen Road podcast. That we might not see him still for quite a while. I think we're relying on Izzy Brown a hell of a lot now. I think Izzy Brown has to come back, hit the ground running. Bamford came out in his interview and said, you know, we've got players coming back now. That is excellent. I'm very happy at that. However, listening to the Rob Price interview with the Inside Ellen Road lads, it didn't seem that they're certain on when Berardi's going to be back. It's you know, he tore the hamstring off the bone, which is a horrific injury. You know, it's always going to tighten up. They've reconstructed his entire hamstring. It's tightening up all the time. You know, we saw that against Castor Albion. The plan was to play him 45, but Gaetano did come off and say it felt a little bit tight. They've reconstructed his entire hamstring, so it's going to take him a while. So you know, Rob Price didn't give a definitive answer on when Gaetano would be back. He did say that Izzy is fully fit, but you know, I guess Bielsa doesn't want to rush him. The only worry I would have would be, you know, is it going to be too late when we're going to put Izzy back in? I'm hoping not. But you know, if we're putting him back in for the QPR game, fine. You know, absolutely fine. But you know, if we're looking on the time scale, you know, a couple of weeks ago he did say he was going to be out for 6 to 8 games, going to be playing 6 to 8 games for the under 23. So if you sort of look at that could be potentially another 3 to 4 weeks, hopefully 2 weeks, because I know in 1 week the under 23s have got a Premier League fixture and they've got a cup fixture as well. So potentially if Izzy plays in both of those, then he could be ready maybe a week earlier. But that's disappointing because I'd like Brown available now. He's 100% fully fit, but Bielsa doesn't seem to think that he's match fit at the minute. You know, it was interesting to see that Bamford didn't play any under 23 games. He was chucked straight in. I think, you know, they were talking about when they were playing murder ball in training and Bamford looked very, very good. So maybe that changed Bielsa's thought process. So, you know, at least we've got Paddy Bamford back for this weekend. Once again, it's tough, isn't it, guys? It's really tough. Also, guys, if you haven't, I'm seeing 26 likes on the thing, 123 you watching. So if you won't mind smashing that. I've got in from work like a lot of you. We've done my research and I've come on to talk to you. So if you won't mind giving it a like, that'd be great. I don't know what you guys think. You know, it's a tough one at the minute. It really is a tough one. I don't want to be overridingly negative because I don't feel negative about it. I'd have been happy at the start of the season with, you know, playoffs, and I'm not saying Leeds will get playoffs, but you know, this is a must win, and this is a must win. You know, if we'd have got a result against Norwich, I don't think it necessarily would have been a must win, but I do think this is a must win now. I think we have to turn this round, and a game like this would definitely do that. But I think, you know, it's tough to say. I think we lose to Boro, and I think a lot more eyebrows are going to be turned on whether or not we are going to be getting the top 2, if I'm honest. That's my personal opinion. You guys, you know, this is why we've all got opinions on this channel. This is why I love doing this channel, because, you know, people like, you know, Claudio, for example, or who I call Ty from Arsenal Fan TV, you know, he's all positive and he thinks, you know, we're going to be getting, we're going to be doing really well and losing 1 in 16 games, which is excellent, and that's what this channel's all about, you know. And then you've got Joe on the other side and Oscar on the other side as well. So it's one of those things, you know, we've all got different opinions, and that's what this fan channel is all about, and this is why it's excellent for you guys to be part of that. And you know, Claudio's got an excellent opinion, and I think probably he's going to be right more than I am. You know, I'm looking at probably the more pessimistic Leeds side, aren't I? You know, it's not realistic at all. I'm you know, we've got 48 points to play for, 48 massive points to play for, and a lot of people think we're going to get maximum out of that, and I do hope I'm wrong. I personally think we need players back, and I think we need a little bit of a change in ethos, a little bit of a change in philosophy, and we could do that. But the players, you know, the thing for me that worries me is it's the sort of it's the in and out, that bothers me. You know, it's the fact that, you know, Paddy's come back this weekend, but now potentially Cleek, Pablo, and Forshaw are out. It doesn't seem that we're for the rest of the season we're ever going to get a fully fit squad back. Now, at the start of this sort of week, I was actually overridingly positive about the whole situation, because I was thinking to myself, you know what, we're getting Izzy back very soon. You know, Gitano's on his way back. You know, you find out throughout the week that he might be a little bit longer than expected. But you know, people are coming back. We've essentially got a fully fit squad, apart from three out, including Stewie Dallas. But key players, really, it's Berardi and Brown, isn't it? They're the ones who we want back, and they're the ones who we need back. But it's the stuff like, if Leeds are able to maintain, I don't thoroughly believe that Leeds are going to be able to maintain injury-free till the end, but I do think that, you know, having, you know, for example, for such a top game like this, having three of the main players out, it's not good, is it? It's not good. It's not, you know, it's never sort of a clean sweep with Leeds, and obviously that's why Rob Price came out and even said he's never seen it like this. So we have to deal with it. We've dealt with it all season, haven't we? We've dealt with it all season. So I do like Shackleton in that middle. He's industrious. I think KP and Shackleton would work really, really well, actually. And if we turn into a 4-2-3-1, I actually think that back line, if I'm highlighting that back line now, so you've got Casilla, you've got Ayling, you've got Cooper, you've got Jansen, you've got Alioski. I did say that could be a stickling point. But then in front of them, you've got Shackleton back in his natural position, for the first time this season. And then you've got him alongside the main man who we've missed, who we've not had in that defensive midfield role since early December, which is ridiculous, KP. So is Shackleton going to do a worse job than Forshaw? Not at the minute, I don't think so. I think Shackleton's excellent, and I think when he's in his preferred position, he's going to be excellent as well. Massive reports from the 23, so sticking him in there, I think he could do an excellent job against the Boro front guard. I guess going forward, it's improved as well. I'm still on the fence about Clark starting games. I said to Joe earlier on this week, I prefer him to start, but looking at it, I don't know. I'd always prefer Pablo in that role. I'm praying Pablo starts, because I think when he's not playing, the creativity in this team, it really slacks. Bamford's a massive plus. So having him back, especially for this game being his first game back. You look at Jack Harrison as well. He was at Boro last season, didn't get a look in. So I'm praying Harrison's well up for this game. I really am, and I'm praying that he wants to really have a go and really dictate the positioning, dictate where Leeds are at. And it'd be interesting to see as well if Harrison and Clark interchange on either wing. I think Harrison, when he's been on that right hand side, has actually looked more dangerous cutting in on his left. I also think it's a different thing for Ryan Shotton to think about if Clark, as good as he is on the other side and is able to sort of cut in and have a go at Shotton and Dale Fry. Roof up front, I think you'll have a lot of help from Bamford as well. I think you'll also see Bamford floating into that striker role as well. I think at some points during this game, you're going to see Leeds turn into a 4-2-4, because I think you're going to see Bamford coming forward and just being behind Roof. So you're going to see Bamford, Roof, Clark, and Harrison all darting forward. So yeah, that's sort of what I'm looking forward to. Yeah, guys, and I'm just going to read through a few of your comments, so get your comments in. I'm not going to go massive on that, because I just wanted to sort of do a little bit of streams, and it's going to be a brief one as well. We started 38 minutes ago. I'm worried that we have picked Harrison. We have other options with different formations, Northallerton and White. Yeah, I think we do, mate. I think we have different formations. But the problem is we don't have enough width at the minute. And width is key to... This is going to be a 4-2-3-1. It's going to be a wide formation. The reason for that is because you're going to get Harrison, who's a natural winger, and Clark, who's a natural winger, touching, hugging the sidelines. When we get Izzy back, I think we could implement the 3-3-1-3 really, really nicely. I think you can get Izzy playing in that CAM role, interchanging with Pablo for that role. I think you can also play him in the 3 up top. So I think when Izzy's back, I think we're going to have a real variation in formation. We can also play the 4-2-3-1 narrow, which means that Leeds are going to be going through the central bit of the, when teams have weaker midfields, weaker centre midfields, i.e., your bottom half teams. If we play a 4-2-3-1 narrow, Izzy's not a natural winger, so when he's out wide and a 4-2-3-1 narrow, they're going to be coming in as inverted forwards. So that's going to be very, very positive for Leeds United. So what I'm saying is we can definitely use more formation when Izzy is back. And if Izzy is featuring, we've seen him play on the left in a 3 in behind the striker for the under-23s, and he's fared really well. He scored against Birmingham and he was playing in a 3 behind Roof. So that could be something we're definitely looking into that, and Bielsa's definitely looking at that. So everyone effing like the video, brothers. Yeah, if you wouldn't do, cheers Damar. If you'd mind liking the video, that'd be great. Jay Army, we need to get on a streak again. We do, Jay. It's key for the top 2. If we don't go on a streak again, we'll make the playoffs. So that's it. Playoffs, you're probably looking at another 18 points out of 48, 18 to 21 points. We've got some tough games coming up, and it's not just the games that are in the next 5 as well. You look at Brentford away, Bristol City away, Birmingham away. They're not easy. They're not easy at all. And if you want the top 2, you've got to be drawing and winning those games. I say any point away from home's a good point. Not this weekend. Needs to be a win. But you're looking at your Bristol Cities. They're high flying. Brentford's always... Leeds got a horrific record at Brentford, and Birmingham. We don't have a good record at Birmingham, and obviously they've already turned us over this season. So Leeds United, we do need to start picking up form, 100%. And that's, the league never lies at the end of the season, guys. If Leeds want that top 2, we have to be drawing and we have to be winning. There's no room for that many losses now. I spoke in a couple of videos ago about Cardiff City probably having the most losses I've ever seen in a season and still getting promoted. 10 losses, which is a big number, and still get promoted. It's not happened in seasons before in the top 2. It's not at all. If you look at the statistics and the analytics, we're on 7 now. So we do need to get on a run. It needs to be a do not lose policy. Even if Leeds are drawing games, it's a do not lose policy, because we can't really be affording to lose many games if we want to keep that top 2 up. And the reason behind that is because you've got the likes of West Brom and Sheffield United not really... aside from West Brom's loss last weekend, there's not been much room for... they've been decent as of Sheffield United. Leeds are on the dip, really, in the top 4. And I do believe that other teams are going to be on the dip. I personally think, and it's not probably going to get a lot of haters, I think Norwich will pull away. Now, me and Joe have been talking about it. Joe agrees. I think the reason behind that is because they've just got a run of easy fixtures. No game in the Championship is straightforward. It's not 100%. But, if you look at if you take a consensus of the past 4 months, they've accumulated 53 points, and they've lost 2 games. So they've accumulated 53 points out of 59, and they reminded me a little bit of Wolves on the weekend. I didn't expect it from Norwich. Obviously, I predicted a 3-1 Norwich. I just had a feeling about the game. I don't know why. Maybe too much expectation on the players. But they reminded me a little bit of Wolves. Wolves weren't having chance after chance after chance at Ellen Road last season, but they were clinical, and they really were clinical, and they took the chances. And I thought Norwich had that quality as well. They had the quality coming off the bench, the potential of quality coming off the bench as well. So, do we need to get on a run to keep up with Norwich? 100%, of course we do. And, with Norwich's fixtures coming up, playing 5 of the bottom 8 in the next 5, I've said that they are going to pull away. People might not like that. That's just my personal opinion. So for me, it's a dogfight for the top 2 now, for the second place. I think it's between Leeds, Sheffield United and West Brom. And, we've always spoke about on the channel, if you finish above West Brom this season, then you're going up. So, that's an indication. If Leeds can keep that up, if we can keep that consistency up, that is the key word. It's consistency. Consistency with draws, consistency with wins. Draws away from home mostly, but wins have to be at home. We have to be getting that. We can't afford many more slip-ups at home, because Ellen Road needs to be a fortress. Derek Burgess, Bielsa is super stubborn. He will not change the format. He won't play 4-2-3-1 or anything other than he's done all season. Same team as before, same outcome, unfortunately. Well, positively, mate, I think in the press conference when he was lining up his team, it did suit a 4-2-3-1 formation. There's no way Bamford and Roof would be in that team, in that starting 11, if he's maintaining the same team, because where are you going to put Bamford and Roof in a 4-1-4-1 formation? So he is going to change it up. There is going to be a difference, and I think it will be a 4-2-3-1. What else have we got here? Biker Price said maximum performance equals more injuries, and that's the deal. Well, it is. You're right, mate. It's what we signed up with Bielsa as well. You know, you can't. How else do you get to the top of the league? You know, you have to, unless you invest millions and millions of pounds and buy the best players in. You know, I mean, Wolves did have a philosophy, but you know they were able to bring in Portuguese all-stars. Unless you're able to do that, you have to work different ways. You have to look at the coaching, the managerial style. And with Bielsa, we knew what we were signing up for. You had journalists coming on every single week talking about the burnout from post-January, which he experienced at Marseille, which he experienced little bits of at the Chile national side, which he experienced at Newell's Old Boys in his latter seasons. And it's one of those really where we knew exactly what we were going to what we were signing up for, and I'm happy we've signed up for it because it's the best football I've seen in my life. But we are yet to see the full season yet, so we've got to wait and we've got to see, haven't we? We need to bring in 2 or 3 loan players to help this squad and more injuries. Would like to see a 3-3-1-3, this formation with Halmer, Jansen, Cooper against the size of Boro. That's not going to happen. Yeah, really nice point, mate. I agree with you. I think Halmer has been excellent so far. I think he's always excellent. And I think if when Halmer's in this squad, the team looks very composed. And I think in a back 3, he'd be excellent. He's very calm on the ball, very physically good as well. So I definitely have him in this side as well. Andrew O'Connor, True Conor, we have used up all our margins for error and now we have to be unbeatable again. Zero cool. If we didn't have injuries, we would be around 12 points in front. I'd agree with that, mate. I'd agree with that. But you don't get that. You can't be working at this level and keep the same 11. That's just not going to happen for the rest of the season. So as long as we all get that in our heads and we all know we're going to have to rotate and we're going to have to use the bench, we always are. You're not going to be surprised when this sort of stuff happens. I've sort of regulated myself to knowing that on Thursdays we're going to hear some injury news. I regulated myself today. We're talking on the group chat about only having certain members back, but I was then turning around and saying, we don't know what happened. He's silent until Thursday's Bielsa, and then he finds out the team news, and then he delivers it to us. So I was expecting maybe 1 injury today, but we're looking at potentially three really key players as well. So it's the gravy train at the minute. It's what we have to deal with. It's what we have. It's sort of yin and yang, isn't it? Bamford is a 9, Roof is a shadow striker, and Garche, yeah, potentially. Could be quite refreshing to see Shackleton in midfield, Ollie King. Yeah, I'd agree with that, Ollie. I think Shackleton, it's his natural role. He's not played there this season. I think KP will have a real rapport with Shackleton as well. The young lads, they've been in training together for a number of years now. I also think they're quite similar players in that role. Shackleton can play a pass, he's industrious. So it'll be really good to see him in his role, and also KP back in that defensive role for the first time since late November. I really think we'll miss out on the top 2 now. Will be a miracle if we get top 2. Do you agree, Conor, mate? I try to be honest with you guys, but I don't want to come and seem overwhelmingly negative. I'm really positive about Leeds United. I love where we are at the minute. And personally, I don't know if my standards are set a little bit low, but I'd be really, really happy with the playoffs. Just in terms of what do we expect from Bielsa, guys? What do we expect from Leeds United this season? It took Guardiola a season, took Pochettino a season. It's took Wolves numerous seasons to get to where they were. They were developing this project when they brought in the likes of Helder Costa 3 years ago. I remember him scoring at Ellen Road in a 1-0 victory about 2 years ago when Wolves were crap and they finished 15th. It takes seasons for this sort of stuff to happen. I do think Bielsa will stay no matter what next season. So, I'm not saying You're asking me if I agree. I'm in it for the long run with Bielsa. You know, I understand there's a project there, and I'm not necessarily. I'm not thinking to myself, if we don't go up, we're screwed. All this sort of stuff. I do believe with Bielsa, we will be in the Premier League. I don't. If it's not this season, it's going to be next season. So I'm not as down spirited. I'm not saying we're not going to go up. But what I am saying is, if we are in the playoffs, that wouldn't downheart me too much. I'm not saying, you know, we will be, but I think there's potential for us to drop out. We could be third by Friday night. Sheffield United go to Aston Villa. Aston Villa have been poor of late. They've not been good at home. Sheffield United are excellent away from home. So, you know, there's a potential that we could be out of the top two by Friday night, and then we've got to go to Teesside and realistically get a win. So if you're asking me, do I think we will finish in the top six? 100%. Do I think we will fall out of the top two? I'm 50-50 at the minute. But obviously with 4 losses in 6, I'm more leaning to the yes. I think we've got to be a little bit braver on the ball. I think there has to be a change in system, which there is going to be. I think there needs to be different personnel in the side, which there is. But I also think we need an element of luck. I think there can't be 2 or 3 injuries out every week, which is seemingly what we're getting at the minute. But, you know, when the likes of Izzy are back, this is what I'm talking about. When Izzy comes back, I don't want to, maybe this is what we are going to see, touch wood we don't, but I don't want to see Izzy go out and then Clark get injured, you know, because then we've got no balance. That's the only thing which is making me think, you know, are we potentially going to slip out the top 2? You know, just because of that reason, just because we can't rotate with a hell of a lot of quality, because, you know, we implement a hell of a lot of 18-year-olds in our side. And then you've got the, you know, the likes of West Brom who brought in, you know, Stefan Johansson, Jacob Murphy, Jefferson Montero, you know, in the January window, and then you've still got Matty Phillips, you know, Dwight Gale. This is all going forward, you know, so I think it'd be the tail of the season for Leeds United to go up, and especially if we're in the top 2. But I'm in it for the long run with Bielsa, and I understand what he brings to Leeds United. And I think, you know, even in the summer, I think we'll give the playoffs a good crack, even if we do get in the playoffs. The positive thing is, what you got to think is, we're not going to finish at the top 6 for the first time in however many years. So that's the positive, I guess, mate. Marcus Beeger, MB said those injuries, Pablo Click and Forshaw are not serious. You're right, he said they weren't serious, but I also think, Marcus, that he doesn't come out, you know, he's got previous records with when he's come out and said Douglas has been fit, but he might play. He has been left out of the side. So I do think one of them may play, but I don't think he'd come out. He's sort of covering his own back with that, is Bielsa. He also came out and said, I do not want these players being injured for future games, so I will not risk them. So I don't think he'd say that if all 3 of them are going to feature, to be honest. Don't think we need good luck, Conor, just normal luck. North Allerton White, Ipswich will beat Norwich. No, they will not. I will bet, I want someone to, if you can clip this, you know, I know Ed, for all these things, is watching. He seems good with the old tech sort of thing. Claudio's watching as well. I will bet, I will send someone via PayPal £10. I'll send you £10, North Allerton White, if Ipswich beat Norwich. I'll send you £10. If you wire me details, I will send you £10 if Ipswich, baller I know, Ipswich beat Norwich. I am certain it's going to be a cricket score. They've lost James Collins, Chambers, the starting centre half. They're 8 points adrift of Rotherham. They are awful. And they're away from home to a Norwich side who just look like, at the minute, they're just steamrolling anyone. So I will send you that money, my friend. I will be stunned. That'll be unbelievable. What a weekend that'll be for Leeds if we manage to... Imagine that if Ipswich beat Norwich away. I don't know if Ipswich have won away this season. So if they go to Norwich and win, geez, I mean, anything can happen in a derby. But even the East Anglian derbies, guys, when... Norwich weren't great last season or the season before. They always beat Ipswich, especially at home anyway. Maybe not away, but at home. They've always got the upper hand. What else have we got? Alex Wilson, Leeds 3, Boro 0, Bamford hat-trick, yeah. You're going to get Joe on later, guys, who'll be saying that as well. I'd be over the moon with that. It'd be excellent, wouldn't it? That'd be superb. I don't think it's going to happen, but it'd be brilliant if it did. We can't have any excuses. Boro were beaten with the full team last night by Newport, and we've had a full week rest. We need to get them early. We can beat them. We can beat them, Stephen. We can beat anyone on our day. You look how fluid and excellent we've been in parts this season. Leeds can beat anyone on their day. I think we give Premier League teams games on the day, on our day. I really do. It just depends if Leeds turn up. And I think that's where the consistency lies. Leeds haven't been turning up in the games where we've been drawing and losing. We've not been creating things. The creativity is my main worry. And if Pablo is out, where does the creation come from? Because Cleek's not a creative player. He's a goal scorer. Well, I don't even know if he's that anymore. I mean, the two, aside from the two against Rotherham, I mean, it's not been great, has it? But, Pablo's a creative spark and he's necessary. We need him to be the creative outlet. We don't have that many else. Click's not a creative player. He moves the ball quickly. He gets Leeds ticking, but he's not a creative player. In my personal opinion, anyway, I think Pablo is our main man for that. Yeah, and the Newport game as well, mate. Okay, I get what you're saying, but Saville, Wing, Shotton and Mikel, they all weren't playing, and they were all playing against West Brom at the weekend, and it's four players there, so that's quite a big proportion of players. Daz Widdy, arrested Pablo in the last several games will be better for us. I don't think we can afford to rest him, to be honest, mate. I think we need to change our form, and if we can play him, I think we've got to play him. 2-1 Leeds, going to be a tight game. Joe and Aaron, yeah, mate, that'd be great. I think that's more probably if I was going to go for a Leeds win, that's what I'd say. Marcus Bieger, you all right, Conor? I don't think they will play either with injuries, just hoping it's not a long recovery time. Yeah, Marcos, it's not a long time. Bielsa said that in his press conference, but I'd be very surprised if any of them played, to be honest. What else have we got here? Conor, what has you convinced Bielsa will stay beyond this season? As much as I want him to, the shit he's had to deal with would lead me to believe that he might turn his back on it all. Well, to be honest, mate, what's happened previously in jobs at Marseille, and I know it happened with him at Bilbao and the Chile national team, is Bielsa sort of fell out of love with the top bodies at the national foundation or the club level foundations. So, for instance, even at Lazio, he wasn't given the funds that he was promised. So there's been a lot of conflict with owners. There's not that at Leeds. He's found a home in Leeds. You see him, readily going out, having pictures with fans, going to every 23 game, every 18s game. So I do think he loves it in Leeds. And I do think he would be open with promises to go into a second season, and especially if he's got a project, a project that doesn't fulfill itself. So, for example, if we don't make the Premier League this season, touch wood we do, but it's not game over if we don't, in my personal opinion. If Bielsa's here next season, I think he'll see it as a project. I think he'll want Leeds to be there. I think he's got the backing from the 49ers and Radrizzani. So I think he would stay there because it's a project. And if he can get Leeds into the Premier League, let's be right, his last couple of jobs haven't been great. So if he sticks with Leeds, it's going to look really nice on his, and he's going to look back on it, isn't he, and see it as a success. So I don't see why he'd leave, to be honest. He seems to like it here. He's embedded with Leeds. We've got a very similar fan base. Newell's old boys. We're obsessed with football fanatics. So I really do think he will. Sent you the clip on WhatsApp, bro. Thank you, Claudia. Honestly debating whether Roof out wide is possible. Not as good out wide as he's in the number 9, but he is better than alternative options. If Hernandez is out and Clark doesn't start, Roof on the wing. Yeah, I'd go with that, mate. I'd go with that. What I would then initiate is Leeds then could also play in the 3-3-1-3 formation. You could get the fullbacks pushing up. You could also get the instead of the 4-2-3-1, you could get inverted wingers, so you could get the likes of Roof sort of playing as sort of a second and third striker, but also coming into a defensive role. He's very good getting back as well. He's got good fitness. I'd also look at playing him out wide as well, sort of inverted as an inverted forward. We don't have to play 4-2-3-1 wide. We could play an inverted formation, a narrow formation, which is what I think we will start doing when Izzy is back in, because I think him closing on that CAM role is what Izzy's excellent at. So yeah, 100% I agree. I would like to see Roof out wide. I think if he's played in the same wide role though as he played under Monk, I think you're going to get nothing from him. But I think if he's sort of an inverted forward, I think that could work. 0 cool. Ipswich 5, Norwich 0. It's just not going to happen. Sent you the clip on WhatsApp, bro. Cheers, Claudio. All things Leeds, will tiredness play a part with Boro having to go to Newport? Yeah, potentially. That's Ed, I think. Yeah, that could play a part, Ed. We'll have to see, mate. We'll have to wait and see. I think 5 days rest is enough for footballers. I think, you know, all this, they need 8, 9, 10 days rest is just bollocks. But, you know, some footballers and managers like to play on it as an excuse. I potentially don't think so. I think they'll be raring for the game. I think they'll be up for it. I think Boro have enough players with quality in their squad to roam. I think it's come back, guys. I think it's hearing back now. Are we back? Are we live? Let's see. We're live. I think we're back. Just refreshing the page. Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened there. Potentially my data ran out. Excellent. Don't worry, I'm not leaving you, Will Hartley. Yes. Sorry, mate. Sometimes it happens. It's because I go on for so long. Try to give you guys the right content. It really is a sales pitch, but it's true. What else have we got here? Don't worry as well, guys. We've got Joe's stuff coming out later on and Oscar's, which is excellent. Yeah, just looking at some of your comments, guys. What we're looking at now. Robert Payne, are Leeds unravelling because they can't cheat anymore? It's strange, isn't it, when people come on like channels like what? Like it's weird, isn't it? Like, what are you doing with your life, mate? Not got things to do. You know, have your tea, just go off. Like, who cares? Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is where I also think like other fans are more bothered about us than we are about them. It's just, it makes no sense for them to come on and just like give abuse. It's bizarre, isn't it? Anyway, who cares? Let's ignore him. Sorry, back to Ed's comment anyway. Will tiredness play a part with Boro having to go to Newport? It could potentially, Ed. Short, concise answer for you, mate. I don't think it will. I think they'll be up for this game. I think they've got enough rotation with quality to be able to deal with playing Leeds on Saturday. But he could play in certain part. You know, they look at the injuries. They could have Savile out, wing out. They could have Hugo Lasombalonga. So at the end of the day, Hugo Lasombalonga limped off the other day. So that could play a part in injuries, definitely. Lee Cox won't be Brown for a few weeks. Yep, Brown's not going to be there. Stream. Yeah, right. Okay, cool, guys. Well, I'm just going to sign off anyway here because we've got Joe coming on later on and we've got Oscar coming on later on. So I guess the stream sort of prompted, buffered at the right time anyway. So you've got all you guys coming on later on. So don't worry about your content and stuff. So make sure you watch that. There's only 88, I say only 88. I think that just plummeted when I went off, unfortunately. So if you guys haven't liked the video, please give it a like as well, guys. You know, if you disliked it, dislike it. Who cares? Gives me an indication of what you guys. If you enjoy this, you know, if you enjoy this, if you want me to improve on the quality, if you want me to improve on this, that, and the other. So make sure you like the video, guys. Make sure you keep formed for Joe's and Oscars as well, because that's coming out very soon. It'll be coming out, I presume, in the next hour. So make sure you keep on with that, guys, and I'll see you in a bit.